The woman who married my husband and I is named Reverend Jennifer Hadley. In her infinite wisdom, she asked my husband and I to meet with her 3 times before our actual wedding ceremony. It was in these sessions that we would not only carve out our actual wedding day, but our marriage as well. When we met with her, she asked us what seemed like really simple questions. Why do you want to be married? Why would you just not live together? Prop 8 had just been repealed and gay marriage was everywhere, and she really wanted to make sure that not only would we be grounded in spiritual practice, but she wanted us to be grounded in spiritual principle as well. And it was great because we answered these questions and it got us thinking about all kinds of things. She asked us what our, oh my God, I can't think of what the word is, but anyway, it doesn't matter. She asked us all these questions and it got us really thinking, and she noticed that we didn't have anything in our vows about sickness and health. I hadn't put it in mine because I hate going to doctors and I didn't want to have to be accountable to anybody to go to one. And my husband didn't put it in his because he's like an avid student of teachers like Ernest Holmes and Jacob Glass, and he really believes in the spoken word. He didn't want to have any sort of like prophecy of us having some sort of sickness later on in our life. Jennifer actually taught us like the meaning of those words and how beautiful it is and why they should really be in your vows, and they ended up making the cut. About a year later, I woke up on a Sunday morning with this mark on my backside that looked like Katniss Everdeen had shot me in the ass with an arrow. I had a bullseye. It was like a circle of fiendish purple surrounded by a circle of red. I went immediately, I grabbed my husband, I said, "What is this?" And his eyes bulged out of his head. And we looked at it together. We determined that it was a bite. It had 2 little specks in the middle, fang marks, my husband said to me ominously. I promised him that I would go to the doctor. I had no intention of going, not because I ever lied to him, but because I just have this sort of macho belief that if it isn't broken or if it doesn't need stitches, then it's going to better itself on its own. And prior to taking this vow to him about sickness and health, that's exactly what I did in my life. So this is on a Sunday morning, and we go to church together because my husband is the minister of an LGBT spiritual organization in West Hollywood, and Sunday is our big day with a musical guest and a service and all kinds of action and fun. I have a really bad taste in my mouth, a sort of lingering malaise, like I haven't brushed my teeth, but I have, because of this feeling. I've brushed it really well with the hydrogen peroxide baking soda toothpaste that I love. I go with him to church, and I don't associate the bite yet with the mark until I don't want any coffee that his associate Kelly has made for me, and that makes her eyebrows go up because I always want coffee, because I usually show up after having worked an 8-hour shift or something taxing, and I grew up watching my father drink 10 cups a day out of tiny little styrofoam cups, so I figure I can have a lot of it and drink it black if I don't have anything in it. I say, my husband looks at me and he goes, "You don't want any coffee?" And this starts the great spider alarm of 2015, in which I realized quite quickly that you cannot say to the man that you took a vow to regarding sickness and health that you don't want to do anything about this bite, because he just barked out these 2 words at me very aggressively, and those words were brown recluse. I am surprised that I don't have a story about a brown recluse, because from this point on, literally every person I talk to has one. Starting with our musical guest, Patsy, who my husband is like, "You need to listen to her." And then later I go to work and my friend Paige reminds me about Marvin, this guy who I guess is the worst possible case scenario of somebody being bitten by something and surviving, because he was 1 minute a flirty 60-year-old man, and the next he was in a wheelchair recuperating after having been bit by something in his home that he got West Nile disease from. I basically still think I'm sort of all right, and my husband is wondering if I'm going to actually hold true to my vow, and then I wake up in the middle of the night covered in sweat. My sheets are covered in sweat, I'm covered in sweat, and my husband is literally dialing the phone and making an appointment for me to go to the doctor. I go to the doctor the next day. The doctor puts me on a really strong round of antibiotics, and he says to me, "Look, I don't know if you were bit by a poisonous spider, but whatever you were bit by, you're allergic to it, and it's a really good thing that you listened to your husband, and it's a really good thing you got here." I go home, I collapse on the couch, I'm sweating, I don't want to eat, I have dreams about spiders laying eggs inside of my mouth. I wake up, my husband has my favorite wonton soup. We're going to a drag queen bingo benefit in 2 days that I want to be well for. I don't want to show up sweaty because I know that drag queens are ruthless about sniffing out human weakness, and I don't want them to see me all sweaty. I take my antibiotics. I take one twice a day as directed. I drink it with huge glasses of water. We go to bingo, and suddenly I want a mozzarella stick. It tastes like grease and salt and everything awful it's supposed to. And I look at my husband, and I give him a thumbs up side, and I realize that he has changed my life. That marriage and the vows that I took with him have literally changed the person that I am. It sounds like a small thing. It's not cancer. It was a spider bite. It was just a mozzarella stick that tasted well. But I remember every single thing about the day of my wedding. I remember that when I was going there, I listened to Book of Mormon in the car. I remember that my parents almost didn't get here because they were grounded in a blizzard in New York. I remember that my father was crying when they said by the power invested in me in the state of California. I remembered it all. And the thing I remember the most is the vows, though, today, because the rest of it, they're just details, and it's the vows that make me the man that I am today. So, thank you.